Hey guys, welcome to the Old Ultra Runner channel. I'm your host Jay Tynert, and today I would like to do my race report on the Brazos Bend 50-mile trail race. This year the Brazos Bend was held at 7IL Ranch. It's normally held at Brazos Bend State Park down close to Houston. Brazos Bend is a neat, heavily treed, flat, fast course that only has probably 200 feet of elevation gain in 50 miles. They hold the 100-miler there in December and a 50-miler for the longest distance in each spring. But this year, the Brazos Bend State Park is so close to Houston. It is in the same county as part of Houston, and they weren't allowed to hold the race due to COVID restrictions. They're still not allowing events that large in the county that Houston is in. So the race was moved a little further west to 7IL Ranch, trail racing over Texas, that puts on about 20 races a year and does an excellent job always. Put on this race. They hold other races at 7IL Ranch. They've held in the past the Blazing Sevens race. They hold the Remix there. They hold Jackalope Jam at the 7IL Ranch. So it's a normal place for them to hold races. So they put on the 50-miler for Brazos Bend this year. Well, there was a 50-miler. There was actually an option for 100K was the longest distance. There was also a 50K, 25K. I know there was a 5K. I can't remember if there were any other distances, but several choices. I chose to do the 50-miler. The course consisted of 3 different loops you were doing. There was a red loop, which was 4.8 miles. There was an orange loop, which was like 7.3, and a yellow loop that was 6.2 miles. And what you did is you did the red loop, the orange loop, and then the yellow loop. And then you did the red loop, the orange loop, and the yellow loop again. And then you did an orange and a yellow to do the 50-mile race. I believe the 100K added an additional orange and yellow loop. But anyway, so this year my family was able to go with me. So my wife went down with me, and my son was off for Good Friday, so he was also able to go. The race was held on April 3rd, this past Saturday. So we drove down on Friday afternoon. It's about 4.5 to 5 hour drive from our house in DFW. We were able to go down. We saw some friends the night before the race. We set up a tent. We camped on the property. It was great weather. I think, I don't remember what it was on Friday, but probably highs around 70. It got down to 50 overnight, so it was 50 in the morning when we started running. And the weather was great all weekend. The high temperature got to be about 70. Now it did toward the end of the race on Saturday, late Saturday afternoon. It rained a bit, but never super hard, and it actually felt good because you were getting up close to 70 degrees, and a little bit of rain and wind cooled you down. It was actually very nice. So when I go to these trail racing over Texas races, he holds races in several parts of the state. So you get runners coming in from several parts of the state that go to all his races. It's kind of a homecoming because you get to see a lot of the same people at each of the races. I always enjoy seeing people that run these races and getting to visit. My local trail running club, Dallas Dirt Runners, did not have a real large contingent at this race, but we had a very good contingent, good strong runners. So we had people that ran the 50K and me doing the 50-miler, and then I think we had 4 or 5 people running the 100K, and I'm probably missing some too, but it wasn't a huge number of us. This is the race shirt I received. The Brazos Bend State Park is normally known for alligators, so they put an alligator on this to keep it like the regular, but instead of a normal background, he put it on a sandy surface because that's kind of what 7IL Ranch is known for, is it's a sandier race. Like I said, the Brazos Bend State Park is extremely flat, It's still fairly flat at 7IL Ranch, but it has more elevation gain. I ended up with about 2,300 feet of elevation gain in the 50 miles as opposed to maybe 200 at Brazos Bend. So it was definitely a little hillier, and it was a little more difficult just because of the sand. There were some very sandy parts. Anyway, took off on Saturday morning. It started at 6 a.m. Felt pretty good at first, was running along, and I was running with a group of about 4 people. One of them was from my DDR club, but we were running a decent pace, trying to keep it under control. We were about a third way through the race, like 16.5 or 16.7 miles. And it was probably on a 10:30, 50-mile pace. So actually that'd be very good for me. My official goal that I told my wife and my friend was that I was shooting for 12 to 13 hours. But in reality, I had in my head that I would like to be under 11 hours. But as we were running those first 16, 17 miles, I started thinking and realizing and feeling it a little bit that I did not drink enough the day before. So I was pretty dehydrated even starting the race. And I wasn't even, while we were running as in a group, that conscious of catching up. So I was drinking some, but not enough to make up for where I was. And it did catch up with me later in the race. So I got to around 20 miles, and then I started really feeling it. I started not feeling good. I started slowing down a bit, interspersing more walks with my runs. And I've got a video I'm going to share right now.
Hey guys, I'm about 22 and a half miles into the Brazos Bend 50 miler. Definitely hitting a low patch. Not really felt very good the last probably 6 miles, so it kind of started early. We'll see. It doesn't always get worse. Sometimes it even gets better, so that's what we're hoping for. The sun is behind the clouds. There's an occasional little breeze, so it's not a bad day out here. There's a little bit of the course. Not really exciting. They do a lot of horseback riding out here.
Okay, so on that video, I was on the orange loop for the second time, the 7.2 mile loop. Throughout that loop, I was still able to maintain a fairly decent pace, and I had calculated starting at about 20 miles that if I could do a 15-minute pace the rest of the way in, I could at least break 12 hours and meet what I told my wife I was going to do, and maybe slightly faster. And I did maintain it through that loop. We finished the orange loop, and when we finished it, I was at 29 miles. And volunteered at an aid station. She got up at 5 a.m. and was out at the aid station on the yellow loop from 5 till noon. It was a funny story. I got to the orange aid station a little later in the day, and they were very proud of their aid station and said, "We set this up great. Isn't it better than the yellow aid station?" I said, "Well, I can't really say that because my wife is working the yellow aid station and she helped set that one up." And they said, "Fair enough." So, but I think both aid stations did a great job and were well run. Can't give enough thanks to the volunteers. They all did a wonderful job that I saw. But at that point, starting the yellow loop for the second time, it hit me hard. I started cramping some, really struggling. And I've got a video I want to share from about mile 29 and a half.
Hey guys, still at the Brazos Bend 50. I am at 29 and a half miles. I'm on the yellow loop. I am really in struggle bus mode now. I'm just walking right now. I actually, since the last time I talked to you, I felt better for a while. Not great, but, and decided I was going to at least keep my pace under 15 so I could break 12 hours. But here in the last half mile, that seems to have all gone out the window. I'm in total walk mode right now, survival. Hoping I'll feel a little better later and can get running again. But anyway, it's actually a really nice day out here.
Anyway, as we continued on the yellow loop, I was extremely slow. I was walking most of the time. I was doing like 18 to 20 minute miles, and at that point I thought my ability to finish in less than 12 hours was pretty well shot. I was just focused on keeping moving, just trudging ahead. I did get to mile 32 or 33, the aid station on the yellow loop, and there was an aid station volunteer that asked me how I was doing. I told her I was struggling with dehydration, but I was trying to catch up. And she had me stand there, and she wouldn't let me leave the aid station until I drank this huge bottle of electrolyte drink. And then I continued on, and I think a aid station or two later, I drank a couple little things of pickle juice, which also real often helps with cramps. I still pretty much walked the rest of that loop. I think that put me at 35 or 36 miles at the end of that loop. And then when I took off on the final orange loop, the third orange loop, I actually all of a sudden felt good for a little bit, and I had high hopes that maybe things had turned around. I was again running like 12-minute miles, something like that, and I had flashbacks to early 2020 when I ran Jackalope Jam. I had felt bad for several hours, then all of a sudden it turned good, and I was good for several hours. I was running strong. Well, this time it lasted for about 3 miles. And then I didn't feel so good again. So I have a video at about that point.
Just checking in. I'm at 38.3 miles. The yellow loop was terrible. I felt really bad and was doing 18 to 20 minute miles pretty much. But as I'm on this orange loop, I'm actually feeling some better. I've been able to run a good bit more. So we're gonna get it done. It's been raining quite a bit, so there may be, I don't know, I don't think there's water on the lens, but there could be. Anyway, I'll check in later. Bye.
After I stopped feeling so great, after that great 3 mile stretch, I still was not as bad as I was earlier. When I was on the yellow loop and I would try to run, I would look down at my watch, and it said I was running like a 14 to 15 minute pace running, which I don't think I've ever run that slow in my life. And then of course walking slowed me down more. Here I was having to walk quite a bit more because I wasn't feeling great. I still was having some trouble with dehydration. It had improved. I had caught up some, but I was able to run at 12 to 13 minute pace when I was moving, but I was having to still walk quite a bit, so my average pace was not real great. And I basically was able to maintain that sort of cadence and that sort of pace the rest of the way to the finish. I do have one more video just before my final loop began.
Okay, so I have one more loop to go. The yellow loop, 6.2 miles. So I guess I have like 6.3 because I got to run up to the turnaround up there. I have promised myself I'm taking off my pack, and I'm just going to put on what I call my speed waist pack for the final loop, just a different feel. Anyway, talk to you later. Bye.
Okay, so just prior to my final yellow loop, I decided to ditch my water bladder backpack and just put on a waist belt. That's what I called my speed waist belt. Well, there's really no speed to it. It was just I was trying to convince myself I was going to feel better, and it did feel good to take the straps off and have less weight. And all I did was use I have one of these sideways water bottles that fits in the small of your back and goes around your waist. I run with this quite often, and I knew one water bottle was going to be enough to do the last 6.2 miles. So I just went to this for the last loop to feel better. Anyway, I was able to finish the race. It took me 11 hours and 45 minutes, so I was still under the 12 to 13 hours that I told my wife. It wasn't as good as my A goal of sub 11 hours, but it was still a good day. It was nice out there. I enjoyed visiting with friends. It was a good time. So a few things to show. This was my race number. This is the big medal they gave us. This is for the Brazos Bend 50 miler. There was a similar design for the people that ran the 100K, but they got belt buckles. Very nice. And I was also just going to mention, just because I mentioned it in my last video when I ran grasslands. When I ran grasslands, it was my first time ever to run in my Ultra Lone Peak 5.0s. When I ran a trail marathon, I ran them for the second time ever, and I did the 50 miles. And I'll have to say they worked great. They worked good through the sand. We went through water multiple times, and my feet always dried really quickly. There were even a couple places we stepped where I got mud like all the way over the shoe. Well, it dried out fairly quickly and would fall off. You can see they don't look too bad now. I've hosed them off since I've gotten home. And anyway, they worked well for me. I guess that's it for my race report. I don't really have anything else that I can think of for today. So thank you very much for joining. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, please hit the like button, and I appreciate it. Thank you.